The OnePlus 5T is a great flagship worth considering. It still follows the same motto, top of the line specs at a fairly inexpensive price tag, but no phone is perfect, so along with 5 of the best features, I'll also be showing off 5 flaws that I found within this device. Let's start with the display, since that's the biggest change on this phone. OnePlus swapped the 5.5-inch display found on the OnePlus 5 with a bigger and taller 6-inch panel, all while keeping a similar form factor. Everything else is still the same, including that it's AMOLED, 1080p, 401 ppi, and Gorilla Glass 5, which is fine. This new 18:9 aspect ratio gives you a way better gaming and video experience, shows you more stuff on the screen for less scrolling time, and now has a way better screen to body ratio at 80.5%. I also love how they fixed the jelly effect, which is one of the huge problems that I experienced with the OnePlus 5. Still, it's not the greatest screen out there, as most phones have a Quad HD panel with a better pixel density, but I love that OnePlus hopped on the tall display bandwagon, as it now feels like a 2017 flagship. The overall performance is also great, as usual, as it packs the same processor, Snapdragon 835, 6 to 8 GB of RAM, dual lane storage based on UFS 2.1 for faster read/write speeds, and the Adreno 540 GPU for great graphical performance when you game. Navigating through the interface is a pleasure, opening and switching between apps is quick, and animations are buttery smooth. On top of that, the software isn't filled with any bloatware or useless features, so there's nothing to hold it back. Bottom line, this phone is still one of the fastest devices you can get. OnePlus also nailed the software. Even though it's still on Android 7.1.1 with Oxygen OS, the overall interface is light and clean. Like I said before, there's no bloatware, very few design tweaks when compared to stock Android, and some additional features that are appreciated. On top of the old features found on the OnePlus 5, some of the newer features include parallel apps, which lets you clone a selection of social apps, such as your Twitter or Instagram, so you can log in with 2 different accounts at once. You can add an extra button to the nav bar to hide or show the navigation bar when you're in an app, and you can slide down the fingerprint sensor to check your notifications. There's plenty of minor modifications that I left out, but if you're familiar with stock Android, you won't have a problem using Oxygen OS. The next great feature in my opinion is the battery life. Even though it's still 3300 mAh, the bigger screen did slightly affect the battery life, but not by much. It still got me through the entire day with moderate to heavy usage. Personally, I am a heavy user with Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi, or cellular data enabled at all times, along with my brightness turned almost to the max. I saw a screen on time of around 5 hours, and you could probably push for 6 if you're a light user. Overall, a decent battery that comes with dash charge to give you a day's power in half an hour. The last best feature before we move on to the cons would have to be the price tag. It's starting at $499 from upwards to $559 if you're aiming to get more RAM and storage space. Just in case you didn't know, that's a $20 difference from the OnePlus 5. So for that extra bill, you're getting a bigger display, a new dual sensor setup, new software features, a rear mounted fingerprint sensor which is insanely quick, and everything else previously found on the OnePlus 5. So even though the price increased once again, it's still cheaper than most of its competitors, including the Galaxy S8, Google Pixel 2, LG V30, and more, and provides a similar experience. It's the perfect buy for anyone who's due for an upgrade and doesn't want to spend a fortune. Switching it over to the cons, keep in mind that some of these are a bit nitpicky, so they are undesirable features, but nothing that will make you believe that the OnePlus 5T is a horrible phone. With a similar design to the OnePlus 5, I still found the 5T to be a bit boring. It's a very generic rectangular phone, there's only one color to choose from this time, and it still sort of looks like an iPhone. It's also a bit slippery in the hand due to the rounded and sleek unibody frame. It's not a huge deal, and I know that OnePlus isn't going to change the overall design for a tweaked version of its predecessor, but it's just something to think about for the OnePlus 6. Everything else they should keep, including the aluminum material, placement of the fingerprint sensor and buttons, and the headphone jack. Please keep the headphone jack. Please. Another pet peeve that I have about this phone is the rear secondary camera. I believe they should have just left the telephoto lens instead of replacing it with a 20 megapixel low light sensor. Even though OnePlus says that it's using something called intelligent pixel technology to combine pixels to increase the brightness and reduce noise, I really didn't see a significant difference between the OnePlus 5 and 5T in low light. You can make out objects more clearly on the 5T with its low light camera, but that's rarely the difference between a good photo and a bad photo. It's just going to be a slightly less ugly picture. It also doesn't have OIS, which I believe would have been a great inclusion for a secondary camera focused on low light shooting. Another issue that I have with the OnePlus 5 is the lack of immediate major software updates. Google released the code for Android 8.0 several months ago, but OnePlus still hasn't provided the 5T with any Oreo goodness. I'm sure it'll be released early next year since it's already been released for the OnePlus 3, 3T, and 5, but now all we can do is wait. On top of that, OnePlus has also confirmed that Project Treble will not be supported on any of the currently released devices, including the 5T. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically an Android Oreo feature that attempts to address slow Android update schedules by allowing manufacturers to push out Google's most recent OS without them having to wait on their chip partner like Qualcomm to support it. By not supporting this, OnePlus made it obvious that you aren't guaranteed a faster update to the next OS. The next worst feature isn't an issue with the phone, just something I wish was included. I still would have loved to see expandable storage. OnePlus has never aimed to include an SD card slot within any of their devices, which is not a huge deal considering that 64GB is more than enough for most people, and 128 is over the top. But the main reason I would have loved to see a feature like this is so I could store large amounts of data such as music, pictures, photos, and so forth in an external card, so when I happen to switch to a new phone, I can just swap it quickly and easily without having to worry about transferring everything over to my desktop or losing any picture or video quality through any cloud service. Not a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. Lastly, it still doesn't have water resistance, and with the price slowly increasing with each new release, I would eventually like to see this feature. According to Jerry Rig Everything, OnePlus was playing with the idea of including an IP water resistance rating, so hopefully in the next release we can finally have this amazing feature that I expect every top tier flagship to have. Well, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the OnePlus 5T. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Check out AndroidPolice.com for some great Android news, and I'll see you guys in the next one.